Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we were running intel, and we're gonna keep doing that. Just because the invasion's just so punishingly difficult still. And I figure instead of just getting one level and dropping it down to still very difficult, I would rather get a couple levels and go back in a far better position. Alright, so we have a Assassination against Corn Worshippers. We'll throw in some Psalm Code bonus chances. Nah, we'll go full bore. That's still really doable.
Full Auspex lock acquired. Pseudo-kinetic tracking is on, and it is being transmitted to your tactical sensorium. Eliminate negative variables for preferred outcome.
So if you haven't seen any of it yet, a bunch of other YouTubers got early access to Total War Warhammer 3, and I've been watching a bunch of gameplay for Khorne, Nurgle, a bit of Cathay, and Chaos Undivided. And one thing I realized that I didn't realize before, even though I've watched Total Warhammer gameplay for years and play the games, their magic is way cooler than what we get in 40K. Because you look at the stuff in 40K, it's like, oh, you're a psyker, you can shoot lightning. Okay, that's kind of neat. But then in fantasy, you get like final transmutation, where it's like, oh yeah, you can just pick an area and you're gonna turn everyone into lead statues. Or honestly, just like Van Geist's Revenge, I think, is where you summon a ghost ship that fires a broadside in a line. You know, you get all these really crazy spells, summoning a black hole, creating, like, a penumbral pendulum, you have this giant scythe of magic sweeping through. You get cool stuff like that, and then for some reason 40K, where the battles are even bigger, they're just like, yeah, you get some little... you can shoot lightning. If you're lucky, you won't turn inside out, explode, and have a chaos demon appear where you're standing. You know, maybe, if you're lucky. And it's just seeing that and then seeing what you get in this, I'm like, damn, 40K got screwed. Psychers are not nearly as cool as, like, a wizard. But it just kinda made me a little disappointed. I feel like Games Workshop could really crank out some crazy stuff, even if the abilities are like, hey, you roll on a chance of just flat out dying, or at least taking damage for casting this. I would be cool. I'd be absolutely down for it, because then at least we get some bigger kind of cataclysmic abilities. Yeah, it doesn't have to go as crazy as like, hey, you can one-shot a Titan because you cast this one spell that summons a black hole. You know, you can BS it. You can say, oh, well, it deals damage, but it's not gonna outright kill. It'll wipe out guardsmen, or, you know, your usual meat shieldy kind of guys who are just meant to screen for your better units anyways. But, you know, there could be some fun stuff. It also kind of made me think about just general units. Because there's all the different, like, they're not marauders, but they're just these mutated dudes for Slaanesh. I was like, that'd be kind of cool to see guardsmen that are Slaneshi guardsman with an arm replaced with a giant claw and all that kind of stuff. It makes encounters interesting, and I think it would make chaos, like the Lost and the Damned, feel better. I get Games Workshop really doesn't give a rat's ass about expanding like renegade guardsmen,
Undesired variable removed.
even though they should, because considering their existing business model of, oh, we want to get people to buy more models, that's an easy way to get people to buy a lot of models. Oh, you have Slaneshi Guardsmen. Well, buy the Slaneshi Guardsman box. You have the Khorne Guardsmen. Buy the Khorne Guardsman box. You know, you could potentially sell 4 sets of the same units just with a few different bits, or if you're a little more friendly to consumers, just sell conversion kits. I can guarantee people would buy them. But that's just me. I think it'd be cool, think it'd be neat, think it would add to the game. And it's not like they have to have like super jacked stats or anything like that. Each one, realistically, each version could have their own little boost. You know, Khorne Guardsmen have better melee. That's their whole stat line. Nothing else really changes. Maybe give them better saves. Slanesh, give them high melee or high damage, better mobility, but their armor's trash, or their saves are trash. Nurgle, you know, make them slow, make them tanky. They don't have to hit hard, they just have to be a wall to just clash against. Easy solution, easy way to implement sub-factions.
There is no escape from the wrath of the Imperium.
Also, I don't remember seeing lore about it. There might be. But, has there ever been Chaos Tau? I know the Tau have fought Chaos before. I can't remember which commander it was, but they ended up finding... It was like a pillar or like a tablet that would create like a barrier that the demons just wouldn't... They couldn't get near. And then they realized it and were like, oh, hey, carry the thing. And they just started carrying the thing, chasing down Chaos until they bounced. But that's just one of those things. It's like you don't see Sisters of Battle being corrupted as a playable thing. I would love to play as Fallen Sororitas. I feel like that's a very easy and I think more player accepted way of selling stuff to people instead of, hey, Space Marines 2. They're like your old ones, but a little bit bigger. Your wheeled vehicles now have jet or like hover pads, and your hover vehicles now have wheels. I'll never forget that. That is just agonizing to look at.
Noospheric assessment complete. Operation is a success. Inloading data construct.
Yay! I don't expect much out of this. Oh, that arc sword. Damage bonus and 10% chance to stun against slowed or shocked enemies. Oh damn, I mean this thing shocks, so that's actually decent. Thank you for the glory rewards. I guess I got an arc sword out of it. Okay, more glory rewards. Why? Okay, we're done. Good. Ooh. I didn't notice the psalm. Yeah, we'll scrap that. We'll jump back into another intel. Yeah, let's just make more stuff.
The web of heresy and corruption is spun by powerful beings and perverted minds. Hunt their leaders, and this construct of evil will come crashing down.
Yeah, the psalm codes, I found out they actually have a bonus effect that is not shown anywhere. It's the psalm doctrines. You have to look it up because it depends on if you have 3, 4, or 5 equipped on a piece of gear, but they get actually some pretty cool effects. Like one of them gives you 50% of your health as a shield. One disables crits but boosts damage like 70%. One actually converts physical damage to warp damage. So the warp resistance and warp vulnerabilities are actually useful. I was shocked.
Incoming gas attack. Time to leave.
And the only reason I found out was because I was sitting there looking at the update stuff, because I was like, man, when are we getting, you know, the sororitas and all this stuff? I really want to see when that is, and, you know, plan content and whatnot. And there was nothing. I was like, okay, whatever. But a new season is available on PC. I was like, oh, cool, what's in the new season? What new items? You know, just trying to figure out what new stuff is in there. I'm scrolling through, it has like every update, they just keep expanding the list. And at the bottom, or actually not at the bottom, towards the top where the continually, like, base game stuff is, they're like, oh, Psalm Doctrines. I was like, what the hell is that? And I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, if you combine certain combos, you get different bonuses. I was like, why is this not just flat out slapped in your face?
Duty prevails.
This makes the Psalms so much better. Because one of them's like, oh, 5% damage for like 10 seconds or something after a kill. It's like, well, individually that sucks. But when you can stack that with greater effects, that actually seems a lot more useful. Because you're not really building for that effect, you're building for the main thing, and then these little bonuses are just bonuses. The problem being, you need to have, from what I can tell, you need to have the slots on a singular weapon. Or piece of armor. I was able to put it on my... What is this? My implant? Yeah. I had put them on my implant, I took them back out because it was like 10% of dot damage is converted into suppression, which for certain builds that use suppression more or get certain things out of it, like there's one psalm code, I think, or doctrine, I want to say, makes it so damage you take first depletes your suppression. I was like, oh, that would actually be a great combo if you could pull it off, you know. Take suppression first, but then have these effects that give you, you know, suppression on dot tick. There are some that are like, oh, if you kill a shocked enemy, they explode for the killing blows amount of damage within like a 9-meter radius. And that's another thing where it's like, oh, that's actually really useful if you build it right. So there's interesting stuff, I just have to find the gear that can fit it. I've found some arguably pretty terrible gear that has like 5 slots, but I'm sitting there going, do I really want to rock, you know, blue gear? You know, some rares or uncommons for this? Not really what I think of, because the stat rolls are always kind of meh. I'd rather hold out, try to get something better, and utilize that. But it is nice to see more use, because otherwise it never made sense to me, because you had the Archaeotech shards and the Psalm codes, and the Archaeotech shards, like, my ones that are just straight up, hey, you heal on hit. Well, I'm gonna take that. That's free healing. You give me a rapid fire weapon? That's, you know, free healing. Who doesn't want that? That's sustain. And then, I actually got a comment, I think it was, let me check, since I'm now backpedaling to check this. It was Shade who had pointed out a good kind of cheap tactic would be to use the Power Sword, because it has an AoE bleed. And the thing I've noticed is there's the Assassin Power Sword, which the bleed is in a cone, and then there's the one-handed Crusader Power Sword that has, I believe, a full AoE bleed. Which I still will probably give a whirl, even the Assassin one, just because it might be great. Bleeds are pretty strong. As long as I can disengage, I should be fine. Honestly, if I can get one with a good number of slots for some Psalm codes, I might be able to pull something off that's really nasty. I kind of want to try the whole, hey, build out a weapon and switch the damage to warp, but I don't know. I feel like it could be useful, but at the same time, I don't know how useful it's gonna be. I guess the bigger thing is, if I had, you know, Signums and all these other minor things that would boost warp, then it's more viable as an option, as opposed to me just shoveling that into my build and being like, yeah, isn't it neat? Which, the more I think about it, I can definitely appreciate the design choices in this game. There's a lot more planning than I think Diablo has.
Example for their kind, Inquisitor.
Since Diablo always feels like you're just going, yeah, get a set. I do wish we'd see sets in this game, because I think they're neat and can do some cool stuff, but I also understand sets really start to kneecap build variety, because then there's little incentive to not use a set. Well, that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.